Tēnā koutou nā kanohi pūroto. Nau mai, haere mai, whakatau mai ki konei I tēnei wā. Nā mihi nui ki koutou katoa, mō haere ki te tēnei hui, hei ako ki te renting after COVID. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Sorry, that was a bit muddly, but I was just welcoming all your lovely faces here to this meeting to learn about renting after COVID.
Hi, I'm Rachel from Citizens Advice Bureau, and I would also like to welcome you all here this evening. Thank you very much for coming to this very informative session. Right, just a bit of housekeeping. If in the event of an emergency you have to exit out these doors and go down to the field, and if you are needing the facilities, they're out the door, out to the back of the room, all these more facilities downstairs. Also, this session is for about half an hour. We've got some questions, question time, and then after that I've organised some pizza, so please do stay for pizza, and it's a bit of a mix and mingle. We've got about 15 to 20 volunteers here from Citizens Advice, so and we've also got Hayley and Julie from Housemart who will be here to answer any questions. What is CAB? Well, CAB is Citizens Advice Bureau. We're an independent community organisation. We're accessible by phone, email, online chat, or visiting us in our office. We're at 44 Stanley Street in Queenstown by the big trees, so we do hope to see you all there. Throughout the country, we're actually supported by 2,300 trained volunteers. What we do, we give free, confidential, independent information, advice and support. We use our knowledge of services and communities to help people to help themselves. We make sure clients know and understand their rights and obligations. We work for positive social change within communities and wider society. Most importantly, we're here to help you all. The types of issues that we can provide advice on are employment, tenancy, immigration queries, consumer, scams, which there are numerous, and anything else really, from where's the best coffee in town. There's never any time pressure when you come in. You know, we're here actually to listen to you, and everyone is welcome and no one is judged. We offer a universal service. You can ask us about any issue at all. This session tonight is actually sponsored by Immigration New Zealand. We have a contract with them and they fund this session, so I'd like to thank Immigration New Zealand. But most importantly, I'd like to welcome Hayley Stevenson from Housemart, and without Hayley here, this wouldn't be possible. So Hayley's been in town forever, probably since before I was here, and she is probably one of the most well-known and well-respected property managers and one of the most knowledgeable. So we've got the best for you tonight. So thank you, Hayley.
Thanks, Rachel, and thanks to Citizens Advice for including us. It's always nice to be asked. I'm actually quite nervous now because Rachel had prepared quite a bit there, and last time I did this, I had prepared a whole heap of notes, and we got so far off track that I thought, I'm not even going to bother this time, I'm just going to wing it. So, what we are going to cover off is basically what the situation is now. There's a lot of misreporting in the paper and, you know, one-off stories that people are taking as what is gospel for the whole town, and a lot of it is not true. So we're going to cover off what's happening in our office. Now, our office is we've got a property management company. All we do is long-term rentals. We don't do short-term, we don't do room by room, and we don't allow subletting. So we rent the whole residential property. So that's basing what the presentation's on. We will go into some boarding house and flatmate agreement issues, but we'll only just touch on them. And if you've got individual situations that we don't cover off in here, you can come and see Julie and I later. The really difficult ones, come and see Julie. If it's really easy, come and see me. Okay, so Housemart has been around for, what have we done, 8 years? 8 years. We are a team of 8 in there. We all women except for Craig. Poor Craig, he has to put up with all us girls' chitter chatter. We are based in Frankton. We have fabulous houses and fabulous clients, and we like to make sure that we're really fair to both parties. So we're not at the top, we're not the biggest, we're not the smallest, we're just middle of the road. So this here, this is just a snapshot of our website. So at the moment, we currently have 5 properties up on our website. So, and none of them are vacant. One is actually vacant. So there for one, the stories that are going round that Queenstown's pretty much half empty. If your property is at the right market rate, it will let to very good clients. So what have we got up there? We've got a property at Kelvin Heights, a lovely 4-bedroom home at $640. Now that would have been up round getting close to the $800 mark. Fernhill, $540, a 2-bedroom, spacious unit there. Quill Street down in Lake Hayes Estate, 4-bedroom house, $650. Terrington, that's down in Jacks Point, so quite a modern home, large, $675. That could actually even go up to $700. Now these are, I do have an average on, or a range on the next slide, but just to show you what we currently have advertised. This one with the fabulous view down Frankton Road, lots of these apartments down Frankton Road, $520 per week. And Marsden, that one is super cute, 3-bedroom place, has been at $650 for quite some time. Really, really hard to move at that price, which I'm not sure why, and we've just let it today at $600. So this is a rough average, or a range, is probably a better description, of what you can currently expect to pay. Now there's always going to be different scenarios where the power's included and internet or different variations on this, but just to give you a rough overview of where the market is currently at. Listed in town at the moment for the property management companies are 154. Now that doesn't take into account private listings. So it was up over 200. I would say it's probably not that high now, maybe 170, 180, but it's still a lot of properties advertised, considering it was not so long ago through the chamber that we were dealing with a housing crisis because we didn't have anything to let. So COVID has managed to solve the housing crisis. Now we've got a different crisis. For our portfolio, we have seen a reduction of approximately 20%. So what you're reading in the paper, that it's down 50%, that may have just been on that style of property, but this is across our entire portfolio. When lockdown hit, we went into action very, very quickly and got rent reductions to all of our tenants. Probably all of our tenants, maybe 95% of the portfolio. we did it very quickly and have managed to retain our clients in the houses because it's better to have somebody in there than the house sitting empty. So all these people that were saying they learnt how to play the ukulele over lockdown and went for walks and cooked and baked and put on kgs, not our team. We were flat out busy and we worked very long hours to get that through. Now, if anybody has any questions, to jump in as we go through, if it's a burning topic, maybe if it's individual scenarios, keep those to the ends, but if you've got any questions, jump in. If I get off track, Julie will rein me back in, because I do tend to do that.
If landlords have reduced the rent during lockdown, can they increase the rent if the original rental agreement had not been changed?
Right, good question. So we're going to get to that. So lucky I've covered that off. Okay, so a new set of COVID laws come into place, which the main one that we've heard over and over again, some people have seemed to think that because making up part of these COVID laws was that your fixed term automatically goes to periodic. I've heard that over and over again. That is not true. So your agreement is your agreement. So we thought we'd put that up there just to reinforce that is not correct. So what the changes are, these are the main points of the changes. Now, we have just had notification today. These were a temporary set of laws that come into play. They finish on the night of the 25th. So the 26th, they will no longer be in play. It reverts back to the RTA. So this was only in play for temporary, with the exception of the last point there, which states that the rent freeze remains in place to the 25th of September. So we're just getting clarification on this one this afternoon, because it's only happened today, that you can't increase the rent before the 25th of September, but you can issue the notice prior to that. So you've got to give 60 days notice. So you don't need to wait until the 25th to issue the notice. You can do it the 60 days prior. However, I would really think about that under the current circumstances before you go and put rents up.
I'm just not exactly clear. If they've reduced the rent 20% because of COVID, to take it back to what it was, is that classed as an increase or is that classed as...
It depends how you've done it. So, if we'll whip through this, and then there is a slide certainly on that. So you've got your different types of tenancies. You've got your fixed term tenancy from point A to point B, so one date to right through to the next. So it might be a year fixed term. Then you have your periodic tenancy, where you roll over every 21 days. You have some flat sharing agreements, which talking with a gentleman about, and boarding houses where you rent room by room. So that's your different types of your tenancies. So now we'll get to this question. So there's two different ways we have addressed COVID hits, and we've gone with either rent relief or rent reduction. So a rent relief is the owners have dropped, say, 20% for a set period of time. So a lot of our owners initially did it for 8 weeks and then have extended it from that. However, a lot of those owners have then continued it on where it's become a rent reduction, and it is the new rate for the duration of the tenancy. So it depends on what conversation was had, whether it was a rent reduction or rental relief. So with our owners, what we did was educating them about the situation. A lot of these owners, even if they're just in Christchurch or Dunedin, they have no idea of the full scale of the impact of what the rental market has suffered during the lockdown period and with downturn in tourism. So what we did was send out a lot of newsletters and articles and links educating the owners on the current situation here. Now, a lot of them we got them to agree to give our tenants rental relief because they needed to get their heads around what the situation was. But that 20% decrease is now where we see the market rate at. So if it is a rental relief and it expires hypothetically on the 30th of June, yes, you can put it back to the old rate, but if it was given as a rental reduction, no, you can't just put it back until you've issued that notice from the prior to the 25th of September, and then depending on what kind of lease agreement you were on and how long they had been there, because it still applies that you cannot put a rental increase within the first 6 month period. So it sounds very confusing, or have I made that sound very confusing? So basically, rental relief, owners reacted quickly, said, yes, lockdown, you've got no work, here's some rental relief, and it varied between 20, some went to 30 or 40%, and they've gone back up to that 20% is the rental relief, and then the next one being the rental reduction, where the original agreement, say, was for $700 per week. It's now had a permanent reduction, and moving forward the tenancy will be at a reduced rate. The theory... Absolutely everything needs to be in writing. It just eliminates he said, she said. Yeah, and we always get confirmation back that they've received it, because when you're stressed, and so many of our clients are stressed, and that is both the owners and the tenants. A lot of our landlords have suffered greater loss than our tenants. So when people are stressed, they hear what they want to hear. So it always pays to have it in writing and acknowledgement back that they understand it. So if, with the rental reduction, if you still feel that your rental amount is above market rate, and we've given you a quick snapshot at the start, the best thing to do is go and sit down with the property manager or the landlord, if that's possible, because some of them are out of town, and have a conversation. This is my situation, this is my work situation, this is all I can afford to pay, I want to stay, can we look at this option? And we see it coming in waves. We see that the market is going to hit additional barriers moving forward. So we've got the civil defence payment that's currently in place. When that comes to an end, when the wage subsidy comes to an end, when the date's up in September for visa holders that haven't had extensions to leave. So there is certainly additional things that are going to affect the rental market moving forward. So it's best for those owners to have good clients staying in their houses, paying, than have it sitting there empty. So go to that owner, state your case. It's very easy to get information on what you think the market rate of your property should be. If they're not keen to negotiate, or you still feel that it is way above, you can apply to the Tenancy Tribunal for a rent reduction if you feel that it's excessively above what the market rate is. So ending my fixed term tenancy early. So with now that we've made it clear that fixed terms don't revert to periodic, with the market, the rental market experiencing the issues due to COVID, a lot of people are in the situation where they've come to us and said, look, my visa's expired, I've lost my job, I can get on a flight, or I'm going back to mum and dad's in Christchurch, but they're on a fixed term tenancy. What can I do? The first thing that you don't do is just pack up your bags and leave. Work with your property manager or the owner. So what we've done a lot of these in our office where we've re-advertised the property, we've got somebody to take over that tenancy, they've vacated, paid up to the vacate date, the new tenants have started moving forward, and it relieves you of the obligations to your tenancy. You have to have the owner's permission to do this. So when they get it released from that fixed term tenancy. But if you walk away, you are obligated to the end of that tenancy for the grounds, the rent, everything to do with that tenancy. Also, if your name's on the tenancy, do not just leave it to your flatmates. If you're the head tenant, do not leave it to your flatmates, because you are still responsible. With tenancy agreements, always try and go on the tenancy agreement. We do not take head tenants, subtenants for that particular reason. Because if you move in and you're not on that agreement, you've lost control. You're not covered by any Tenancy Act, and you're very open to people taking bonds and taking advantage of this situation. Does that sort of cover off the fixed term tenancy, leaving early?
I had a case of somebody who wanted to end their fixed term tenancy early, found new tenants, but the property manager wanted to charge each of them money, quite a lot of money. Yep. When they'd found the new tenants. I read the information under tenancy, and it said that they could be charged a reasonable fee.
Yep.
But who decides what is reasonable? Did they have to go to the Tenancy Tribunal?
They've got two options. So the reasonable fee is covering the advertising.
No, they didn't have to do that, you see.
That's what they will be deeming the reasonable fee as. Because for an owner to replace tenants in a tenancy, it costs a lot of money. So the owner's going to have to advertise for tenants, credit checks, new lease documents, a final bond, inspection on the property, release the bond, lodge a new bond, the viewings. So there is costs associated with changing that over. So what the property manager will do is say, yes, we'll work with you. This is the reasonable costs, and what they can do is get those listed what the costs are, because the owner would have had to pay to get that property let, and now if he wants to let them out of their fixed term tenancy and have somebody take over, to release those people out of the lease, it is only fair that they incur some of the owner's costs moving forward to get new tenants in there.
That's what I thought, but
Yeah.
the tenant was not happy because they'd found new tenants.
Yeah, so if...
But there are other costs.
Yeah, but they can also apply to tenancy if they think it's been unfair. The thing is that property management companies, it takes a lot of time to go to tenancy. People don't want to do it. I can assure you the property managers don't want to do it as much as the tenants probably don't want to do it. So if you can sit down and discuss it, usually there's a way out. The other thing is, ask that question when you're signing up a tenancy. What would happen in the situation if I had to leave the country? What would be the associated costs? So anybody that's going into a tenancy, ask those questions up front is always a good idea. Leaving, what happens with the bonds? Well, with a bond, when it's lodged with a tenancy, it's lodged into tenancy services. The property management company does not hold the bond, and unless we get your signature on the form, we cannot get it back. So make sure that you get the bond form. You would have received a copy of it when it was lodged, and you get it signed off and either scan it into the property management company once the final inspection's been done. Otherwise, there's going to be a delay. It happens quite often where there's 3 tenants on the bond and one's gone off to South America and the other 2 are wanting the bond back, but we're missing one signature. It's like a bank account. We can't get it out without your signatures on there. Now, with flat sharing agreements, that is slightly different. So say if I'm the head tenant and Julie has moved into one of the rooms and we've done a flat sharing agreement, I've paid the bond and I've lodged it. I've got Julie to pay me some bond money, and that's noted on the flat sharing agreement. Now, the flat sharing agreement is not covered under the Residential Tenancy Act. That's just a separate agreement between her and I. So when Julie goes to leave, and Julie likes the odd red wine, and so there's a red wine stain on the room, and we will have that discussion. And if she's wanting the bond back off me and I'm not giving it to her, she is then going to have to take our situation to the disputes tribunal. It does not come under the Tenancy Act. So you need some form of agreement, and that's why it is so much easier if you are on the residential tenancy agreement right from day one. You need to leave the property reasonably clean and tidy. This is always a difficult one because everybody's reasonably clean and tidy is different. So it's not hotel standard, but it's not Wakatipu Rugby Club changing room standard after a few beers on a Saturday night. So if things go wrong, what is your course of action? Go and talk to your landlord. I find it easier to have things bullet pointed. If you think you're not sure on what to do, go in with your points down and talk to your landlord. It is easier if you have rented through a property management company because the laws keep changing, and hopefully property management companies are keeping themselves right up to date with it, because we get emails and notifications and training. So there's more chance that we know what's going on. You can go into Citizens Advice Bureau and ask them. You can pop in and see us at Housemart and ask us. You can apply for mediation with tenancy services as well, or you can just ring the 0800 tenancy number with tenancy services and they can discuss with you on the phone. And we got to the end. Did I keep it under half an hour? I think I may have.